Hello everyone, Mr. Hissner here, and today we are going to be looking at triangles. And one thing about triangles is that we probably know more about triangles than we realize. I mean, most of you have these ideas of triangles and you've been working with triangles for quite some time. And really what I'm going to ask is that, you try to channel that knowledge, you try to embrace that prior understanding because with this vocab, this is the first time, probably the first time where the vocab is going to be very familiar at least up into a certain point. So just again, try to embrace that prior knowledge. And here we go. So let's look at our problems here. And what we have are some triangles that we are going to classify. Now, let me see if I can float on top. Yeah, let's just float on top. So here we go. So this is our triangles. Three acute angles. These are all angles less than 90. This is going to be an acute triangle. Notice the word for triangle is the sign for triangle, right? So this is triangle. Duh. Right? So that if there's three acute angles, if all angles are acute, then the triangle is acute. However, if there is one obtuse angle, then it is an obtuse triangle. So again, a little triangle. If there's one obtuse angle, then it is an obtuse triangle. But notice obtuse triangles have two acute angles. So to be an acute triangle, they all must be acute. Okay, one right angle. Well, again, all you need is one right angle, and then the triangle becomes a right triangle. And again, this symbol in here is the symbol for right. And finally, we have our congruent angles. And again, what we're doing is looking at just angles, right? Just angles. So when we have three congruent angles, we call this equiangular. Angular. This is an equiangular triangle. It is an equiangular triangle. And so let's look down here. We have this figure down here. And the first triangle we want to look at is triangle CDE. So I'm just going to kind of highlight this. CDE. Okay, and so what we want to do is look at this triangle CDE and think about what kind of triangle is it? Well, look at this. I see it already. There's a right angle down here in the corner. So triangle CDE is a right triangle. Triangle CDE would be a right triangle. Let's look at triangle BCE. So let's look at triangle BCE. Nope. I'm wasting time. Okay, triangle BCE. I tried to make it fancy. That was my. I'm just out here doing my best, Okay, so let's look. Well, it looks like we have one acute angle in here, right? Looks like we have another acute angle in here. So we have two acute angles. Do we have three acute angles? No. This angle here, angle C is clearly obtuse, right? That means the measure of angle C is going to be greater than 90 degrees. Clearly that's greater than 90. I mean, come on, right? So yes, this is going to be an obtuse triangle. This is a greater than 90 angle. So yeah, that's what we have here. And then the next one I'm going to look at, is down here. Let's look at triangle. Let's look at triangle BE. What is that? BEA. There we go. Let's look at triangle BEA. Well, remember that when we're looking at angles, these little hash marks, this is telling us that all these three angles are congruent. All three of these angles have the same measure. And so we know that all three of these angles are acute, and that is true, but also they're the same, and thus all three of these angles will be the same measure, and thus this will be an equiangular triangle. This is going to be an equiangular triangle. And we can also classify these by sides. So when we have three congruent sides, this was going to be an equilateral triangle, right? Those hash marks here, again, this is just telling us that these are all the same. And we have when you have two congruent sides, so this is just 1, 2, this is an isosceles. This is something that you probably are familiar with so far, isosceles triangle. And when there are no congruent sides, this is what we call a scalene. Scalene triangle. Scalene triangle. Okay, so we have equilateral, isosceles, and scalene. And this is when we classify triangles by their sides. By their sides. First we did it by their angles, and now we're looking at it by their sides. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hop down here. Let's look at number 9. We have a right triangle that has two congruent sides. So this would be called a right isosceles triangle. Let's look at this one here. Well, this has, let's see, 1 acute angle, 2 acute angles, 3 acute angles. They're all different. We have one side that's 15, another side that's 18, and another side that's 20. So all the sides are different as well. So this triangle is going to be an acute scalene triangle. And that's the idea here, is that we're looking to classify triangles by their angles. So is it a equiangular? Is it a right triangle, a scalene triangle, or an obtuse, an acute? And then we look at the sides. Is it equilateral? Is it isosceles? Is it scalene? So first we're looking at angles, and then we're looking at sides. And that's what we're going to be doing today. And these are just basic principles of triangle. And like I said, probably stuff that most of you already know. So thanks for watching, guys.